the swimmer who never dreamed of courts. Tim Duncan was born on the small island of St. Croix, a place where the ocean stretched endlessly and the pace of life moved with the rhythm of the tides. From an early age, his world was shaped not by basketball courts or roaring crowds, but by water and discipline. Swimming was his first love, a dream he pursued with quiet determination. His mother, Ione, a nurse and a guiding light in his life, taught him the value of hard work, humility, and above all, grace under pressure. Tim was not born to fame or fortune. He was a reserved boy who preferred the calm of the pool to the chaos of the outside world. His dreams were modest but sincere: to become an Olympic swimmer, representing the Virgin Islands on the world stage. Each day, he would train in the island's only Olympic-sized pool, pushing his body against the water's resistance with steady strokes and unwavering focus. But fate, as it often does, intervened with cruel certainty. In 1989, Hurricane Hugo struck St. Croix with devastating force. The pool where Tim practiced, the very place that held his dreams, was reduced to rubble. The waters he had once conquered became inaccessible, and with them, his aspirations began to slip away. As the island struggled to rebuild, so did Tim struggle to find a new path. The loss was compounded by a deeper, more personal tragedy. Just months after the hurricane, Tim's mother, the anchor of his world, was diagnosed with breast cancer. The illness progressed swiftly, and in 1990, Ione passed away. Tim was just 14 years old. The boy who had once floated effortlessly in the water now found himself adrift in grief. Swimming was no longer an option, not because the pool was gone, but because the drive inside him had vanished. The silence of the ocean replaced the rhythm of his strokes. It was during these dark days that basketball quietly found him. A neighbor suggested he try the game, seeing potential in the tall, strong teenager. Reluctantly, Tim picked up a basketball, unsure if it would ever mean more than a distraction. But something about the sport, its blend of discipline, teamwork, and silent intensity, began to resonate. Unlike swimming, basketball demanded he engage with others, yet still allowed him to remain reserved, focused on his own steady progress. The court became his new pool, the bouncing ball his new rhythm. But unlike the loud stars of the NBA, Tim played without flash or fanfare. He was a steady force, one who listened more than he spoke, who worked harder than he celebrated. His story was not one of instant glory. It was a story of quiet transformation, forged by loss and shaped by perseverance. A story that whispered, rather than shouted, its greatness. And so, the boy who never dreamed of courts began to write a new chapter, one that would soon catch the attention of the world, not by noise, but by the strength of his silent resolve. The quiet storm at Wake Forest. Tim Duncan's talent on the basketball court did not go unnoticed for long. Scouts saw the raw potential beneath his calm exterior, but Tim himself remained cautious, guarded, almost hesitant. Unlike many prodigies who chased fame and fast success, he moved deliberately, valuing growth over glory. When Wake Forest University offered him a scholarship, it was not just a chance to play college basketball. It was an opportunity to build something lasting. Tim chose to stay all 4 years, a rarity for a player with his ability, because education and character mattered deeply to him. The boy from St. Croix, who had lost so much, understood that greatness wasn't just measured in points or trophies. It was built in patience and persistence. At Wake Forest, Coach Dave Odom became more than a mentor. He was a father figure who recognized Tim's quiet strength. Odom didn't push him to be flashy or outspoken. Instead, he nurtured Tim's disciplined nature, teaching him to lead by example. Tim learned that leadership wasn't about loud commands but about unwavering reliability. On the court, Tim's presence was unmistakable. His footwork was precise, his defense relentless, and his demeanor unshakable. Yet, he never sought the spotlight. While others celebrated with fanfare, Tim's game was a lesson in restraint. Power contained within controlled motion. Opponents found him frustrating, teammates found him dependable, and coaches found in him the cornerstone of a team. As his college career progressed, the national media began to take note. Yet, their words often missed the essence of Tim Duncan. They labeled him boring, critiquing his lack of showmanship and his quiet personality. But the veterans in the NBA saw something else, a player whose game spoke volumes without uttering a word. In 1997, Tim was drafted first overall by the San Antonio Spurs. Expectations were sky high. Fans and analysts imagined a flamboyant star lighting up arenas. But Tim remained unchanged, humble, focused, and grounded. He wasn't here to entertain the crowd. He was here to work. Behind the scenes, his relationship with coach Greg Popovich was already forming. Popovich, a man who valued integrity and loyalty, saw in Tim a rare kind of leader. Together, they would build a partnership that emphasized teamwork, respect, and a shared vision far beyond individual accolades. Despite the pressure to perform immediately, Tim insisted on finishing his psychology degree, valuing education as much as basketball. This decision surprised many but revealed the depth of his character. A young man determined to honor not only his own dreams but the lessons from his mother's memory. The stage was set, a quiet giant stepping into the roaring world of professional basketball, ready to rewrite what it meant to be a star. The question lingered, not if he could dominate, but if the world was ready to embrace a hero who let his game, not his words, define him. Tim Duncan's story was no longer just about personal survival. It was about challenging the noise, proving that strength could be silent and greatness could be humble. And as the first season with the Spurs approached, the world waited, some with doubt, others with hope, to see the unfolding of a new kind of legend. The dynasty nobody bragged about. Tim Duncan's arrival in San Antonio marked the beginning of something quietly extraordinary. The Spurs were a team hungry for success but lacking the flash and celebrity that often accompanied championship contenders. Duncan's arrival was not heralded by fanfare or bold promises. Instead, it was met with cautious optimism. And slowly, the quiet storm began to take shape. Alongside him were Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, two dynamic players who complemented Duncan's steady, unshakable presence. Together, they formed a triad unlike any other in the league, a balance of skill, speed, and unyielding fundamentals. Where others sought to dominate through showmanship, the Spurs built their empire through discipline, teamwork, and mutual respect. The journey was not without struggle. Early in his career, Duncan faced intense pressure to prove himself. Critics questioned whether his reserved demeanor and understated style could thrive in a league dominated by larger-than-life personalities. The loss in the 1999 NBA Finals tested him and his teammates' resolve. Yet, Duncan's leadership, quiet, steadfast, and patient, became the glue that held the team together. Championships followed in 1999, 2003, and 2005, but what truly set this dynasty apart was not just the trophies, but the culture Duncan helped cultivate. The Spurs were a family bound by shared purpose, where ego was checked at the door. In an era of flash and noise, they were an anomaly. Humble, focused, and deeply connected. Off the court, Duncan remained the same man from St. Croix, modest and grounded. He eschewed the trappings of fame, lived simply, and kept his private life out of the spotlight. His reputation as a consummate professional earned him respect across the league. Teammates admired his work ethic. Opponents respected his unyielding integrity. Yet, the path was not always smooth. The heartbreak of the 2013 NBA Finals loss to the Miami Heat, led by LeBron James, cut deep. It was a reminder that even the greatest legacies face moments of pain and doubt. Many wondered if the Spurs could recover, if Duncan's reign was nearing its end. But the story was far from over. In 2014, Duncan and the Spurs returned with renewed vigor. Their fifth championship was a testament to resilience and teamwork. Facing the same Miami Heat team that had denied them the year before, they reclaimed their place at the summit, without fanfare, without spectacle. Duncan's game remained as precise as ever. His signature bank shot, his unshakable defense, and his calm command of the court defined a new standard of excellence. This chapter of Duncan's career revealed a profound truth. Greatness is not measured by noise or acclaim, but by quiet consistency and unwavering commitment. The Spurs dynasty was proof that success could be built on respect and humility rather than headlines and hype. As the final buzzer sounded on that 2014 victory, Duncan showed no grand celebration. Instead, he nodded quietly to his teammates, a gesture that spoke volumes. In that moment, the world witnessed not just a champion, but a legacy built on silence and strength. But every story has an end, and as Duncan's career approached its twilight, questions lingered. How would the man who never sought the spotlight define his legacy once the crowd faded away? Legacy in silence. When Tim Duncan stepped away from the game in 2016, there were no grand farewell tours or orchestrated goodbyes. His retirement was as understated as his career, a simple announcement, a quiet exit from the stage he had graced for nearly 2 decades. But beneath the silence was a legacy that spoke louder than any spotlight ever could. Duncan's impact extended far beyond statistics or championships. He redefined what it meant to be a leader, showing that strength need not be boisterous to be profound. His leadership was forged in humility, forged in the lessons of loss and perseverance that had shaped his youth. To teammates, coaches, and fans alike, he was a model of integrity and steadfastness. After retiring, Duncan chose not to disappear. Instead, he returned to the Spurs as an assistant coach, quietly passing on his wisdom to a new generation. Here, too, he shunned attention, focusing instead on nurturing talent and fostering a team-first mentality. The man who had never chased fame continued